Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today's Wednesday and it's August the 7th, 2024. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently on these YouTube streets. So you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. And our story today comes from Fort Mills, which is located in South Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, Lies and Deception, when the church secretly hired a convicted sex offender as pastor. I'll provide you with a summary here, and I'll identify some of my sources for you in the description box. So this story today is all about lies, deception, and betrayal in the church. And it's another reason why many of us are simply losing confidence in our traditional religious system. You just can't trust anybody anymore, not even those elected as leaders. And this story affirms for me a sense of betrayal by those in leadership positions. So I wanted to share it with you, and I would be very happy to hear your points of view on the matter. So our focus today is on Eternal Church located in Fort Mill, South Carolina. The church was initially established as part of the Presbyterian Church in 2004, and in 2009 it left the Presbyterian Church and established itself as a non-denominational church. Size of the congregation is unknown, but construction on this beautiful building here began in 2002, and it was completed a year later, and all this information is available in the public domain. Now, the leadership body in the church are elected elders. That's what they're called. And approximately 10 years ago, the elders selected this man pictured here as their choice to be the new pastor of this church and brought him to the congregation, and the congregation voted and accepted him in. And his name is Don Logan, and it appears Pastor Logan was doing very well in that position. It appears both the leaders and the congregation were very happy with him. But Pastor Logan had a dark past and a secret that was known to the elders who hired him. But those elders elected not to share that information with the congregation, and they kept his secret for over a decade. So now, a decade later, those same elders are having to defend their decision. So let's look back in time approximately 9 months ago when a member of the church just happened to be searching through the sex offender registry. And that's not unusual because from time to time, I also check the registry because I want to be able to see what sex offenders are in my area and exactly how far away they are from my neighborhood. I do it and others do it as well. So that's not unusual. So the member of the church was looking through the registry, and to her disbelief, she found her pastor. Pastor Don was on that sex offender list. I'm sure she was in shock. How could that information be correct? I'm sure she looked at it repeatedly. I'm sure she was in denial. And you know, when you look at the info, it's not only the name of the offender, it's accompanied by a picture. So after getting over the initial shock, she brought her concern back to the church, and she was even more alarmed at the responses from the church leadership. And when I think about a pastor, I'm thinking about transparency. So before we address the church leaders, let's look at the offense. And it's dated back to 1977 when Don Logan was convicted of a child sex crime. The child in question was a 14-year-old girl. Logan was 29 years old at the time. According to one reporter that says its information came from the court document, it was stated that he fondled a 14-year-old girl under her pants as she sat on his lap and watched a movie at a French house. The girl told police she knew him because he used to be her minister. So he was charged with sexual assault of a child. And as a result of his conviction, he was sentenced to 3 years in Indiana prison. And when he was released, he was required or mandated to register as a sex offender. I don't believe that he served the entire 3 years. I believe he served about 18 months, but nonetheless, When he was released, it was mandatory that he register as a sex offender, and it appears he had done so in Indiana, but there's question as to whether or not he continued when he moved to South Carolina, which was required. But on the advice of his attorney, he had only recently registered. That was a few months ago, and after he did, his name was discovered on the registry by the woman in his church. So after the initial shock of finding her religious leader on that sex offender registry list, the woman, thinking she had uncovered a big secret, she immediately addressed this matter with her family, and then she took it to church leaders, who are the elders. Many of them were still there from a decade ago, but she soon found out there was an even bigger secret. The elders of the church had known about the pastor's history all along. For over 10 years, they had known about the pastor's child sex crime conviction. They knew about it before he was even hired. So the truth of the matter is, while the status of Pastor Logan may have been a secret to the congregation, it was not to the church leadership. Those elders knew that information but when the selection committee had the opportunity to vote on the selection of the pastor 10 years ago, that specific piece of information was withheld from them. And now all hell was breaking loose. The people began looking at the leadership with skepticism. It was shock, disbelief, betrayal, and anger all at the same time. It was scary for those to have to wonder about who had been around their children for the past decade. Some felt Logan should have been disqualified from even being given the opportunity or the role as a pastor, or at least the congregation should have been able to weigh that information when they voted on his selection back 10 years ago. That makes a lot of sense to me. So in early July, and we're talking about just a few weeks ago, July of 2024, an emergency meeting was called, and that was an opportunity for the congregation to address the leadership body, and demand an explanation for their past decision. There were some revelations and a few admissions, but it still left large portions of the congregation angry and confused. As expected, there were those in support of Pastor Logan, as well as many still questioning why something so serious was withheld and kept a secret for so long. There were those who felt that Logan's crime, as it was, violating a child in a sexual way, they felt that should permanently have disqualified him from holding the position as church pastor and spiritual leader. But there were also a few who felt that he had been punished, he had served his sentence, and that should be enough. But I assure you, the latter view mentioned here was in the minority. And I wanted to share with you excerpts from an online blog. And the name of the blog is the Wartburg Watch 2024. Here's the cover page right here. And this is a blog, a Christian-based blog. And there are two co-authors, Darlene Lee Parson and Wanda Martin. It was founded in 2009. And I want to share with you parts of an interview that was published or discussed in this blog. And the reason I'm addressing this is because it pertains to what we're talking about. And here are some excerpts from an interview that was conducted by an individual who wanted to know why the church made a decision to hire Logan as a pastor and then keep it a secret. And the date of this publication here was July the 5th, 2024. And here are some excerpts, and I could not include everything, but I selected some of the things that I felt left me with the most concern. The first one was that the leaders, speaking about the leaders of Eternal Church, they felt this individual, the executive pastor, felt that the leaders of Eternal Church do not feel that sexual sin with a minor permanently disqualifies Logan from the pulpit. Excuse me. The leaders of the church believed that, but why wasn't the selection committee who had to vote on his selection, why was it kept a secret? Seems like a lot of deception to me. Now, the next issue is that the leaders examined his life over the past 20 years and believe he's above reproach. You believe he's above reproach, but yet you deliberately suppress that information because you did not want it to be considered in the selection process. Seems like they were meeting their needs rather than the needs of the congregation. The next thing is that the leaders believe that Logan is a proven character. Proven to who? They said that that, and we're talking about the executive pastor of Emmanuel Church, said that he could not share the details of Logan's conviction because that's his story to tell. Wow, he's on the convicted sex offender registry list, but they still feel that it's important to keep this a secret. And this is what caused me the most concern. He said, this individual, the leadership in the church said that Logan's action would lead to his prison sentence was not serious since there's a wide spectrum of this sort of thing. What are they saying? They're saying, is he saying that they condone sexual abuse? He didn't think it's serious because there's a wide spectrum of this sort of things? I am totally appalled. And with statements like what I just read, it's no wonder there's been such a great divide. There's the perception of betrayal and mistrust that continued to exist among the congregation. And that was on July the 5th. But on July the 7th, it was announced that the pastor was taking some time off to deal with the ramifications of him being outed as a registered sex offender, but also for the fact that he also had some health challenges that he was addressing. They said that he was recovering from a cancer diagnosis, but I'm sure this was awfully stressful because never at one time did you hear me say anything that Logan did that was a lie. Apparently, he did make his issues known a decade ago. It was the elders of the church who did not let the congregation know before Don Logan came there to be their pastor. So after 10 years, this all comes out. I'm sure it's very embarrassing, not only for him, but he's married. He's got a wife of 23 years. I'm not sure if they have children, but I'm sure this has taken an emotional toll. Plus, he's recovering from a serious medical diagnosis. So he had to take some time off, and it was revealed that he would be taking time away from the pulpit as a time of reflection and I'm sure to get his thoughts in order, but also they wanted some time for the church to really come to terms with what they were planning to do. And 3 days later, on July the 10th, 2024, an email was dispatched to the church congregation in which the elders affirmed they had made a unanimous decision to terminate their relationship with Pastor Logan. And the entire letter was available for review, but I'm electing to condense it by picking out a few things to cover. The email starts out by saying they had made a decision to immediately part ways with Pastor Logan. They said the decision was made with repair and discernment, and that retaining him was not consistent with the truth, wisdom, and practicality of a Bible verse that was quoted in the book of Timothy. See, I don't understand how it's not practical now, but it was practical for them all along up to a few days ago. They acknowledged past failures in addressing issues that could potentially tarnish the church's reputation and erode trust among the members. The email mentioned the prior charges under conviction, but also stated that the elders failed to see how releasing that information would adversely affect the Logans or the church family. And for that oversight, they were seeking forgiveness and looking forward to the opportunity to progress forward. And they also said that they would be sharing the leadership next steps the following Sunday, and they were encouraging members of the congregation to return to worship service despite the recent turmoil. And you have to admit this was one hot mess. So the saga of Pastor Logan has definitely come to an end, but I'm sure the impact of all of this confusion will probably remain with the congregation for a very, very long time. You know, I can honestly say it would be very difficult to return to that same church with the same elders serving as leaders. And I can definitely understand why many have decided to worship elsewhere. And you know, those elders most likely should be replaced. And I think the elders going forward need an education. In today's society where child sexual abuse is so rampant, I could not in good faith trust any of your future decisions. You know, saying that you're sorry is one thing, but you know, the best apology is changed behavior. And I'm sure as you embark on a new leader, depending on his or her vision that and her personality as well, that person might be instrumental in calming the storm and restoring peace to a troubled congregation. and we definitely wish them well. And that's all I have for you right now, but feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video, and by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks like just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.